Welcome to MacMo Academy. Today we will discuss basic geometry, and in basic geometry we will discuss the basic important figures of the geometry. So let's start with the point. Point is the very and the basic geometric figure. So a point is represent the position. So first of all we will discuss how many dimensions does point has and what does it reflect. So a point has how many dimensions? It has 0 dimensions. Why? Because it neither have height, neither have nor have breadth. So it means that point has no dimension. Point is represented by a dot and can be labeled as capital letter A, B, C, any of the capital letter A till Z, and it can be represented by cross as well. So how many dimensions does point has? Point has 0 dimension. It tells us to locate the object. So where we use points in our daily life, if you will notice in your surrounding, so point is used on maps as well to locate the locations, on pinpoint location on a map like this. You have seen this type of pinpoint location, so that's why it's called point. And what else? It's help us to locate an object in our space, in any of the space. So it has coordinate, x coordinate and y coordinate in Cartesian coordinate system, so that is also called point, and that represent a point in a space in xy plane, in 2 dimension planes. So after point, the next, so this one is point, the next is line. So how line is formed and how many points are required in order to construct a line? In order to construct a line, at least 2 points are required. At least 2 points are required. So if we join the end points of these 2 points with a line, so it will form a line. So it means that we can name this line as AB. So we can call as line segment AB because it has fixed endpoints. So this is called line segment. So a line has 2 or 3 types of lines are there. This is called line segment, in which the fixed points are there, in which line cannot move a single millimeter after this point. So this is called line segment between fixed 2 points. And for line, how many points are required? At least 2 points are required in order to construct a line, and there are infinite points between these 2 points. But if we extend this line after these 2 points, so this will form a line. A line can be extended in either direction indefinitely, either on right side or either on left side. Sometimes we place arrows on both the sides, sometimes we do not place arrows, and between these 2 points we extend the line like this. But if we mark arrows on both sides, so it represents a line. So line can be extended in both the directions. So there is one more thing. For example, if we can name as line XY, and there is another representation, we make double arrows on both the corner, it represents line. And how to represent line segment? Line segment is represented by AB, and we make this type of line. It means that it's a line segment. It has fixed endpoints, it doesn't have fixed endpoints. And the third one is, now between these 2 points, if line cannot extend, it's called line segment. And between these 2 points, if line can extend in both the directions, this will be called line. But there is one more case. If one point endpoint is fixed and another point is not fixed, means if line is going in one direction, so that is called a ray. And for example, if we can name this ray like this, PQ, so we will call it like this, ray PQ, and it is representing that the ray is going on right side direction indefinitely. So ray means it has one fixed point and one point which will continue till infinite, so that's represent a ray. Ray can be represented in opposite direction like this, Mn. So there is one more important thing is there. For example, if I have represented arrow on at the top of N, so I would name like this. I would means this is the stopping point, this is the fixed point at the top of N, and this one is not the fixed point of M. So we can name like this, or we can name Mn like this. So these are the representation how to represent a ray. So can you think a real life example of a ray in from our surrounding? A laser beam. When we light up the laser, so from the point from where it's starting, that's the fixed point, and it will go till infinite, so that represent a ray. There is one more example, sunlight. Sunlight is another example of a ray. From a fixed source, it will continue till infinite, until and unless it will not fall on an object. Line will go in both the direction. So you can think about and comment us in and give the answer of line, where we can use line in our daily life. You can give feedback in the comment section, and for the line segment as well. So we have discussed point, lines. Acha, one more thing which we have not discussed. We have discussed point, we have discussed the dimension of point, but we have not discussed the dimension of the lines. So how many dimension does a line has? A line has only one dimension, which is length. So it means that line has 1D, which is length only. It has length, it doesn't have breadth. For example, if I'm using a thin marker, it is not means we would not consider the thickness of the line. We would just consider that the line is going in both the direction in one dimension. So that's why it has only one dimension, which is length. It doesn't have breadth, it doesn't have height. So that's why it is called 1D. It is. So now let's discuss intersecting lines. So intersecting, the word intersect means where two things meet together or common point. So intersecting lines, it means that if two lines meet at a common point, so that point is called, so those two lines are called intersecting lines. For example, if we name this line as AB, and if we have another line PQ, and if these two lines intersect with each other at some point, and that point is common between them, which we can label as X, so these two lines, line AB and line PQ, would be called as intersecting lines, and this point is called point of intersection. Point of intersection, where two lines meet together. So point of intersection is X. X is the name of the point where two lines are meeting together. So intersecting lines are the lines which meet together at a common point, that is called intersecting lines, and the point where they meet, that is called point of intersection. Now the next thing which needs to be discussed is our plane. So what is a plane? A plane is a flat surface in which two points are joined by a line that lies entirely on the surface. For example, the floor of the classroom for this board is a plane. So a plane has two dimension. It's a 2D. It has two dimensions, means it has length as well as breadth, just like the board. We are having a board in front on which we are doing the working. So this board is a perfect example of a plane where I can draw the length as well and breadth, but I cannot draw the thickness of any object on this plane. But sometimes the boys get confused. For example, if I'm making a cube, so this is the projection of the third dimension, this is not the actual third dimension. So this is how the plane works. Means plane is a two-dimension object, plane is a 2D. For example, the example of plane is a piece of paper. So on a piece of paper we cannot draw any 3D object. We can only project 3 dimensions. This is the projection of 3D. This is the shadow of the 3D object. So a plane is a 2D. So the example of the plane are the floor of the classroom, the board, the whiteboard. We are not talking about the thickness of the whiteboard, we are just talking about on which we are doing the working. And the wall, these are the examples of the plane. A plane which is not flat is called curved surface. And it does not form part of a plane. For example, the surface of a football is a curved surface. So that is not form the part of a plane. So if we talk about the surface of the football or basketball, that forms a curved surface, and that is not the part, and it doesn't form a plane. Plane is a flat surface which has 2 dimensions, over which we can draw two dimensions, length and breadth. So we have discussed the basic geometric figures. So these are called basic geometric figure, point, lines and plane, because by using these basic figure we will work for complex figure and we will proceed towards the next step. Now let's discuss another important thing in basic geometry is our angles. So how an angle is formed. So when two rays, for example, I am making one ray and I am making another ray. Let's name these rays. So this is called vertex, where two rays meet together. The corner, the name of this ray is OB and the name of this ray is OA. So when two rays meet together or share a common point, which is O, an angle is formed, and that angle can be named, we will discuss. This is called angle. The angle between ray OA and OB, this is called angle. How much, what is the degrees of this angle, how much the size of this angle, and this point is known as vertex O. And how can we read this angle? We can read this angle as AOB. AOB is the angle starting from A and ending at B. And these are called sides or arms of the angles. So this is about angle, the how much the opening of these two sides are there. For example, if we are forming another angle, so these are called ray. We can extend this line indefinitely, but this is the ending point. So this is called vertex, where two lines meet together and the corner is called vertex, and this is the angle. And these are called sides, side A, side another side. So this is how we can explain angle. And how to measure angle? By using protractor. We will use protractor by putting 0 degree over here, and we will discuss that how to calculate an angle by using protractors. Now we have discussed angles, but there are few types of angles are there. There are total 4 types of angles. The first one is acute angle. Acute angle. So this is the first type, acute angle. So the definition of acute angle is the size of the angle should be greater than, x should be greater than 0 degree and x should be lesser than 90 degree. So these are called acute angle. So this is the illustration of this angle. This angle is lesser than 90, so this is called acute angle. If it would be 89, for example, if the angle size of the angle is 89, again it would be represent as acute angle. It would be called as acute angle. For example, if the size of the angle is even if 1 degree or 2 degrees, so again it would be 89 degree less than 90 degree. How can we read it? We will read this illustration or this definition like this. The size of the angle should be, x should be greater than 0. So this is angle x. X should be greater than 0 and x should be lesser than 90. So all those angles would be called as acute angle. So how to read it? X is greater than, we will read in this way, x is greater than 0, and from here we will read in this way, x is lesser than 90. So let's combine together. X should be greater than 0 and x should be lesser than 90. So those angles are called acute angles. So this is the first type of angle. Now the second one are the right angles. Right angle. If x is actually equal to 90, not lesser than 90 or not greater than 90, so those angles are called right angle. If the size of this x degree is equal to 90 degrees, so that angle is called right angle. And the next type is obtuse angle. Now if the size of the angle, if the size of the x is greater than 90 degrees and lesser than 180 degrees, which means that if it would be a bit more than 90, for example, if the size of this x would be 91, so again it would be obtuse angle. And if the size of this angle would be, for example, 179.5, so again it would be obtuse angle triangle. And in between these two values, or means greater than 90, it could be 90.01, 90.5. so again between these two values, greater than 90 and lesser than 180, all the angle would be called as obtuse angle. And the last type is reflex angle. Reflex angle. So in reflex angle, the value of the size of the x should be greater than 180 and it should be lesser than 360 degrees. So if it would be greater than 180, 180 means a straight line. So it means that if it would be greater than 180, so it means that even if it would be 1 degree more, for example, if it would be 181, 182, so that would be called as reflex angle. And if it would be lesser than 360 degree, so for example, this complete angle, for example, a little less than a complete angle, for example, if it would be 259, 250, 249, so again they all are called reflex angle. Then complete angle is a circle. It makes a circle complete angle, which is equal to 360 degrees. So complete angle is represented by a circle, means if we are starting from this point and ending at this point, so it would be illustrated as a circle. And straight angle in which x is equal to 180 degree. It is represented by a straight line. For example, if we are starting from this, if we are calculating from this end and ending at this point, so it would be 180 degrees, x is equal to 180 degrees, and it would be represented by a straight line. And complete angle is represented by a circle which is equal to 360 degree. So this is the complete information from starting from point lines and planes, and we have discussed angles, how angles, what is the definition angle of an angle, how angles are formed, and how many types of angles are there. So in the next video we will discuss how to find out unknown in an how to find out the value of unknown in an angle, or how to find out angles on a straight line, complementary angle, perpendicular lines. We will discuss all those things in the next video. So do not forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for your support. Stay connected for the next videos.